What is going on, everyone? The Houston Texans season came to an end yesterday against the Kansas City Chiefs. Final score 23-14, and we have an interesting stat. The Houston Texans are the first team in playoff history to outgain an opponent by 100 yards, have 0 turnovers, and lose. Teams were 49-0 in such games. So I guess the Houston Texans did make history last night, but boy, this was a tough one. And we're going to jump right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Was this season a success or not? You guys let me know in the comments down below. My name is Ruben Calavillo, and this is the 713 Houston Sportcast, where I drop daily Houston Texans content. I want to thank you all for being a part of this season with me, and hope you are with me for many more to come. And I promise you, sooner rather than later, the Houston Texans are going to get to places where they've never gone before. An AFC championship, a Super Bowl. Ladies and gentlemen, the Houston Texans are in the offseason, and this episode is brought to you and powered by BetUS. They're giving us a 150% sign-up bonus on our first deposit, up to $2,000. On the second and third deposit, it's 125% bonus. Promo code YouTube150 gets that done. Quick 24-hour payouts, 24-hour customer service. BetUS, where the game begins. Let's talk about the officiating crew, because man, it was not good last night. Y'all know I have never been a blame the ref guy. And if you were asking me why did the Houston Texans lose yesterday against the Kansas City Chiefs, the first things I'm going to bring up, the offensive line being god-awful, C.J. Stroud sacked 8 times, and the special teams having one of its worst performances all year. But I would be dumb to ignore that the referees heavily favor the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday. I mean, at one point, the Houston Texans had 6 penalties for 63 yards, and the Kansas City Chiefs had 1 for 5. Can we make it any more obvious? The 2 roughing the passers calls were very questionable. You know, the Will Anderson Jr. one was on third down. The Texans would have got the ball. Fortunately, play continues for Kansas City, and that was early in the first quarter. The second roughing the passer call, I mean, the 2 Texan defenders hit each other, yet the flag is thrown. And then you have Pat Mahomes tiptoeing on the sideline, flirting with it, trying to get a Houston Texans defender to hit him so he could flop and get his potentially third roughing the passers call. Him flopping just pissed me off. However, do I blame Patrick Mahomes? No. If I know the refs are going to favor me and my squad, I would flop almost every other play. But we knew that going into this game. D'Amico Ryans knew it. Joe Mixon knew it. Everyone knew it. When you play the Kansas City Chiefs, you're not only facing them, you are facing the officiating crew. Patrick Mahomes running to his right. I think he gains 15 yards. You clearly see Jerwan Taylor holding Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter jumps up, waves his hands. No call. But yet, C.J. Stroud was in that similar situation a couple of drives later, holding. Just trash, man. And I hate talking about the referees. I really hate it. But yet, here we are in the offseason, once again losing in the divisional round. And, you know, when I saw the graphic that the officiating crew was 6-0 against Kansas City entering this game, I was like, man, is it going to happen to us again? And the blindness in me was like, no, absolutely not. There's no way they're going to try to take this away from the Houston Texans. They were trying, fellas. They really were. However, like I said, if you ask me, why did the Houston Texans lose? The officiating crew is the third thing I get to. Let's talk about the offensive line, the highest paid unit in the NFL. Just god-awful. Credit to the Kansas City Chiefs. credit to Spaz, a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. George Karlaftis, 3 sacks against Dalton Schultz. I mean, what are we doing leaving a tight end on an edge rusher? But the offensive line, abysmal. Running wise, they were able to give, Joe Mixon some lanes. He had a respectable day on the ground. Big touchdown in the second half where you thought, hey, we can compete with this Kansas City team. And, Joe Mixon finished for 88 yards. But in terms of pass protecting CJ, there was none. And the fact that CJ Stroud went 19-28, 245 yards, 0 tutties, 0 INTs, a quarterback rating of 95.1 on the ground. CJ Stroud, 6 rushes, 42 yards. CJ Stroud showed you yesterday that he is a franchise quarterback. No one should be upset by what CJ Stroud did yesterday. You saw him banged up, limping every single time he got hit. This offensive line should be ashamed. Highest paid unit in the NFL once again. Seeing Laramie Tunsil on that, and we'll talk about the special teams in a second, but on that blocked kick, Tunsil just throwing his arm out, trying to stop Justin Reed. What are we doing? You're going to go into the offseason potentially needing 3 new interior linemen. CJ Stroud was just getting hammered back there. And he kept on getting up. And he kept on making plays for this Houston Texan offense. But it wasn't enough. And you know what's crazy? There's this stat here that just irks me. Give me 1 second to pull it up. I think you all know what I'm referring to. But the Texans are the first team in playoff history to outgain opponents by 100 yards, have 0 turnovers, and lose. But we knew this was going to happen, right? I mean, how can we not? We knew the offensive line all year struggled to protect CJ Stroud. Why did we think it will be any different? Why did Shaq Mason get the start at right guard? Like, I understand this is the veteran, deep playoff experience, Super Bowl rings, but the offensive line was better with Juice Scruggs at right guard. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, when I saw that Shaq Mason was starting over Juice Scruggs, I said, really? That, took out the excitement for me for the offensive line, because the offensive line did well last week against the Los Angeles Chargers. And the fact that you saw Shaq Mason struggle early, you started to lose, faith right then and there with this offensive line. They're going to go back to doing what they've been doing all year and just horrible pass protection, and CJ Stroud's going to be back there running for his life. What do you do with Titus Howard? Because I think Blake Fisher has solidified himself as the right tackle. But the offensive line, just a piss poor performance all year, and it was just highlighted yesterday in front of everyone. I've seen this with David Carr. I've seen this with Deshaun Watson, and I do not want to continue to see it with CJ Stroud. The special teams has to be one of the main reasons, if not the reason, why you lost yesterday. It started off with a big return by the Kansas City Chiefs to open up the game. Then a penalty by, I believe it was Chris Boyd. And then you saw him pushing Frank Rice. Now he explained that he was excited because he thought he was a fumble and they recovered. I'm not putting too much emphasis on, on that push, right? We saw Travis Kelce do it, I believe, earlier during the season. So I'm not putting much, much weight into that. Kaimi Fairbairn. You heard me say one of the best kickers in the NFL. I mean, just shriveled up right in front of you. Just shriveled up. Missed 48-yard field goal, I believe. Now, granted, that should have been an offside call, but hey, the refs didn't see it. Okay, they didn't see shit all game. Missed. An extra point. Missed. That's 4 points, guys, that the Houston Texans would have had if Kaimi Fairbairn just made it through the uprights. You've also heard me say this. I trust that he could boom it for 50, and I believe he did hit a 50-yarder. But when it comes to the easy ones, when it comes to the chip shots, he can't make it. Kaimi Fairbairn was not locked in yesterday. The fact that I'm talking about a kicker, the fact that I'm talking about the referees just pisses me off, because what more could this offense that is already shitty at pass protection and not having Stephon Diggs, not having Tank Dell, what more could they have done yesterday? Tommy Townsend, punter, Pro Bowl alternate, former Kansas City Chiefs, knows how to punt in Arrowhead. 35 yards. Just a god-awful performance by the special teams. Let's talk about Bobby Slowick. Do you bring him back? Now, he is a free agent, so the Houston Texans will have to make him an offer. Now, he is also getting interviews for head coaching jobs. I think it's time to move away from Bobby Slowick, and I think it's time to go out there and get an experienced play caller. You heard Hardy say it on Bleacher Report, bring back the Kubiaks. But ladies and gentlemen, the Houston Texans, man, they fall yesterday to the Kansas City Chiefs, 23-14. Once again, they cannot make it past the second round of the playoffs. You guys let me know your thoughts and comments down below about the game. For more Houston Texans content, follow me for more. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the great season. Can't wait for more. Have a very blessed day. Episode is brought to you and powered by BetUS. Quick 24-hour payouts, 24-hour customer service where the game begins.